This convention is going to be moving on soon, I can feel it. Hello Internet, I'm Sandy Brushtail and welcome to another episode of Furry Fandom Stories. It's that time of year again where I give the rundown of my experience of the UK's largest furry convention, and hopefully I won't piss anybody off this time. ConFuzzled 2023 marks the 10th year since the convention left the Hinkley Island and headed to Birmingham. The attendance figure keeps going up, up and up without stopping for breath. This year's figure was 2,661. That's a 475 increase from last year's 2,186. We had reached the fire safety limit for the Metropole Hilton. The theme for this year was Into the Multiverse, a celebration of comic book culture. But before I go into the convention itself, let's have a quick recap of the things I said I'd do differently from last year. I did brave the room lottery this year, and lo and behold, I didn't get a room. Premier in again, it seems. Another thing I said I'd do differently from last year would be to actually read the con book after I missed out on quite a few events that I really would have enjoyed attending last year. With the event info in the con book and with the help of the mini guide, I was able to plan which times I would have to be out and about and what times I could go back to the Premier Inn for some downtime and grab a quick power nap if I needed to. And finally, I'd said that I would book my slot for the photo shoot after I registered. However, when I logged on to the photo shoot website to book my place, here we go, Saturday. Fully booked. Sunday. Monday. You have got to be kidding me. The photo shoot was fully booked. We were only 6 hours away from opening ceremony and they were booked up just like that. No photo shoot for me this year. So, on to the convention itself. I knew that my room at Premier Inn wasn't going to be ready until after 3 p.m, but I decided to take an earlier train down to Birmingham. And if you're a sponsor, you get to register that little bit earlier. After registering, I hung around the Hilton for a little bit, and then I went to the NEC to grab some lunch before making a trek to the Premier Inn. In the sponsorship package this year, I got a hardcover copy of the con book, along with convention t-shirt, a big mug, keyring, a pin badge, as well as the car window sticker. First days of cons are usually a little bit slow because everybody's still settling in and getting themselves sorted out. I hung around the Hilton for a little bit and I noticed that Uncle Kage was here for 2023. I hung around listening to some of his stories for a little while until I was approached by another attendee who noticed the Martin the Warrior pin badge I had on my lanyard. So I was dragged away from Uncle Kage to have a lovely chat about the Redwall books. As the evening drew in, it was soon time for the opening ceremony, and this year we would be introduced to 2 new friends for Brock. From Universe A was Mel, who, according to the con book, was full of life and energy and always jumping in with both feet. She's a relentless optimist and always expects the best of outcomes. Also joining Brock from Universe Omega 3 was Dylan, a crocodile who, again, according to the con book, was used to hanging back and waiting before starting a task, preferring to think things over first. They hate being rushed, but they have great ideas and often struggle to enact them. In a callback from ConFuzzled 2019, attendees was put into teams and put on a search for interdimensional artifacts. It was basically a treasure hunt game where we had to collect poker chips and put them in a box in the lobby. The guests of honour for this year were singer and songwriter Tonya Song and children's book illustrator Catherine Inkson. and the charity was Wolfwatch UK. Another thing of note about the opening ceremony was due to the sheer amount of attendees this year, the queue for the opening ceremony started from the main stage, snaked all the way down the corridor, past the dealer's den, out through the doors for the Monarch Suite, and was snaking all the way back to the main entrance. It got to the point where ConSec actually had to ask attendees to watch the opening ceremony on big screens on the second stage, myself included. After the opening ceremony, I was in the mood to do some suiting, and I did remember my pause this time. I did attend the dances that evening, and I managed to catch the set by Raven Lenoxis and some of the set by Guppers, but by 11:30, I was feeling a little bit run down from all the travelling I was doing, so I decided to call it a night and headed back to the PI to settle down. After breakfast, I went straight to the Hilton, and after getting a free slushie, yay me, I hung around taking photos and recording the odd bit of video, waiting for the dealer's den to open. And you know what's next? Dealer's Den, my swag! I had bought myself 3 t-shirts, one with a mechanical Zoid-like wolf motif, a ScotiaCon 2023 t-shirt, which I did not get when I attended this year. Oh crap, I didn't do a video about that. The 3rd t-shirt was made by Heartalily Studios with a fox motif on it. I had also bought a notepad as well, and I got a freebie sticker too. Other things included a ScotiaCon pin badge, another V-Arts cap, 2 Pride badges by Tatsu Killer, a bottle of scented fursuit disinfectant by Chibeasts, a drinks jar by Olive Tree Artistries, a con/room card holder by Illumination, and some prizes I won in a raffle, including a husky beanie baby. After going around with dealer's den, I went back to the PI to drop off my den swag, as Saturday was Motorfurs Day. And this year, the Motorfurs wanted to pay their respects to an absent friend. In memory of Typhon, the attendees had roped off a parking space and put up a reserved sign, but that wasn't all. Everybody who brought a car along revved their engines and honked their horns to make as much racket as possible. Some people honour the memory of someone who's passed away with a moment of silence. For Typhon, we had a moment of noise. Cars of interest for this year included a Holden Monaro, a Triumph TR7 in British Leyland livery, a TVR Chimera, and a BMW E46 3 Series. Oh, and there was a Nissan Skyline there as well. After leaving Motorfurs, I went to suit up. I had missed the Fursuit Menagerie last year, and it was not a mistake I intended to repeat. From looking at the con book, there were 2 slots that I could attend during the menagerie. Foxes and the colour orange. Okay, technically there were 2 foxes slots, one for all natural and another for other types. I like to think Sandy has a natural fox, so that was the one I went for. At time of recording, the menagerie photos aren't ready yet, but I will upload them to my Twitter along with a link in case anybody else is interested in viewing them. After taking the fox photos, the photographers took a short break and I stayed in suit to see if there were any other photo ops going around. Another cool thing of note about the menagerie was the assortment of inflatable props for the attendees to use. I really did enjoy the menagerie, and it made me think that missing the photo shoot wasn't so bad after all. After the menagerie, I went to the NEC to get some lunch, and I learned something about horseflies. Their bites hurt like fuck! Whilst waiting for the nightclubs to open that evening, I went around recording bits of video and taking photos of suitors. I tried one of the street stalls that was selling food and bought myself a drink too, but after I saw the line for karaoke, I decided to give it a miss. So instead, I went to shake my tail to some Beauty of the Bass. But I didn't stay for the whole set. I ducked into the Fursuit Lounge to cool off. But I did stay for the set by Ambi Ensaladas. After that set, I decided to call it a night and headed back to the PI. There were things I wanted to attend in the morning. Trying to get a minimum 6 hours of sleep is difficult when your body clock is still stuck on work mode. Falling asleep just after 2 AM and getting up at 6:30, I just rolled over and had another hour's snooze before going down to breakfast. First thing I did after breakfast was leave the PI and go to the mini-mart in the NEC to get myself a monster. I arrived at the Hilton early to attend Game Poppy's Furry History 101, where he discussed the best ways of researching furry history and also gave some hints and tips for the budding historian who is interested in doing their own lectures. But I had to leave his lecture early because I didn't want to miss Fursuit Fiasco. At Fursuit Fiasco this year, the games included Play Your Cards Right, the inflatable egg and spoon race, and that strange assassin game from 2019 also made an appearance, but I understood the rules this time. What I love about Fursuit Fiasco is it's not just a showcase of how fun and goofy the fandom can be, but you also get random stuff happening. Like this.
Over here now, they're really scrapping over. Oh, yes, look, they have fallen, and they can't get those little across. It's getting good enough for you, isn't it? Fair enough, fair enough. And from you, I want no video evidence. No video evidence. I called it. I called this mobile phone.
Oh, I think the detective has a suspicion.
I don't know who this is, I'm going to pick it up because they're not famous.
Just like other Fursuit games through the years at ConFuzzled, the winner was decided via scramble. After Fursuit Fiasco, I went to the Five Guys in Resort World to get myself some lunch, and I have found one burger franchise that has defeated me. The burger was one of the best I had ever eaten, but the portions were so large, and I was full to bursting halfway through my fries. It was at this time I was starting to feel a little bit drowsy, so I went back to the PI to grab myself a power nap. After I woke up, I went back to the Hilton because it was time for Shadow Raccoon's Price is Right. The main reason of why I enjoy these shows is because of the audience participation mini-games that would happen between rounds. I first saw Price is Right back at Jeffy in 2019, and when it comes to bidding, I always ended up either bidding too little or going over. However, after the third round...
Scarlet, come on down. Come and sit down, honey. Hello.
No, stand up.
Oh,
Stand, yeah.
oh no, sorry. I do apologize. Sandy!
Now, the main stage cameras were unable to pick up my reaction to being called up on stage.
Alright, come on down. Come sit down, honey. Hello.
Yes! Yes! Fuck yes! The minigame was called Plinko Wo Wo. I did lose, but Scarlett chose the mystery box, where she ended up with a giant novelty clothes pig. I ended up with this!
You'll be partying all night long with this fantastic Top of the Pops CD from 2000, featuring H-Bomb, Billy Piper, Steps, and Roman Keating. You're leading envy of all your friends.
There actually is some okay stuff on here. If you've ever been to a fursuit dance at a convention, you basically know 60% of this stuff. This for me was the best memory of the convention. Hell, this is right up there with meeting Uncle Kage at my very first ConFuzzled. I don't do ratings anymore, but if I did, I would give Shadow Raccoon's Price is Right 5 stars out of 5, despite the odd technical glitch. As for the rest of the evening, I got myself a drink, got into suit for a while. I missed the poodle dance, but I did manage to catch Skunk Mantra's 80s mix and really enjoyed that. But the set I was most looking forward to was Rock Night. After about 15 minutes of the rock set, I actually made a dash back to the Fursuit Lounge to put my head on the air drying rack because I didn't want to accidentally damage it from all the head banging I was doing. Rock Night with a Core was awesome, and thanks for playing some 90s grunge. A bit of Weezer and some Offspring. Mwah! Brilliant. After Rock Night, I didn't stay much longer. Back to the PI to settle down for the night. Damn it, Body Clock. I did not have work that day. Why did you wake me up at 6:30? Again. I rolled over and got another 2 hours kit, but I knew if I didn't hold my tail end out of bed, I was going to miss breakfast. After breakfast, I went to the Mini Mart in the NEC to get myself some hangover cure. And afterwards, I had to go back to the PI to pick up my camera stuff because, after a long absence, the Paw Pets were back! The last stage show was back at ConFuzzled 2018 when the theme for the convention was video games. My first ever FFS video. They chose to take a break in 2019, but nobody could have predicted the worldwide shit show that was the pandemic. And for this production, they decided to do things a little bit differently. With a bare-bones cast, no play rail or lit backdrops, and no turning down the house lights to hide stagehand shifting props, it felt minimalist in tone. Dial P for Paw Pets saw Jim and Quentin Coney take up the roles of private detectives hired to trace the whereabouts of a bird-shaped idol with unknown powers. Turns out that this idol has an ancient being living inside it and has the power to warp the fabric of reality, who then ripped open the barriers between their universe.
I can't stop the confusion in my mind!
In all honesty, it was not their best show. That crown still belongs to Chocolate Orange in 2015. But it's still Paw Pets, and the minimalist approach to the production almost seemed to add to its charm. I enjoyed it. Towards the end of the production, I was feeling very drowsy, and by the curtain call, I was struggling to keep my eyes open. Back to PI for power nap time. I woke up just after 4 and made it back to the Hilton, where I dared the food stalls again. And you know what? Those hot dogs and waffles were really, really nice. As afternoon became evening, I went around with my camera taking photos of suitors and recorded some B-roll for my music video project. After raiding the cocktail lounge, I hung out with Shadow Raccoon and Theodore Rabbit for a while. Now, before we go on, we need to address the elephant in the room and talk about something that happened Monday evening. At around 8 PM, convention security sent out an alert to all attendees to inform us that a gang of locals was roaming the path between the Hilton, the Crown Plaza, and the NEC. They had taken steps to conceal their identities and allegedly were armed. It got to the point where the police got involved, and I just want to say thanks to Midlands Police, the security team for the convention, the security team for the Hilton, the Crown Plaza Hotel, the NEC, and Resort World Security for making sure that we were all right. Well, I wasn't about to let a load of sour normies spoil my fun. I did think about giving karaoke another shot, but then I saw the queue, and I also overheard the MC for the event saying that they only had 40 slots. So again, no karaoke for me. So instead, I decided to suit up, and Sandy was shaking his tail in the raves until halfway through the chav rave. After packing away my fursuit, I hung out with a familiar friend, and more drink. I decided to take a taxi back to the Premier Inn. Not only did I have most of my camera equipment with me, I also had my fursuit, and there was no way I was going to risk it. I decided not to stay for the closing ceremony. Instead, I called an earlier train back down to Gloucester. It's a good thing that ConFuzzled.tv was streaming it. Matt Lyon gave the convention attendees the usual rundown on all the food we had eaten, how much alcohol we quaffed, and dear God, we ate a lot of beans.
Yes, and on the subject of beans, have you ever seen a catering-sized tin of beans? 116 catering-sized tins of beans. Coming in at 304 kilograms.
The guests of honour, Tonya Song and Catherine Thornspots Inkson, gave their thanks for being invited and gave a little speech about how much they enjoyed attending the convention. The representatives from Wolfwatch UK also gave a speech and thanked the attendees for their generous donations. The initial total of funds raised during the convention had exceeded over £36,000, but we weren't done. The closing also did a charity auction where one of the air-powered confetti cannons also got auctioned off along with some other bits and bobs, raising the total for Wolfwatch UK for this convention to over £41,000. Wow, that's awesome. And speaking of Wolfwatch UK, one of the representatives gave this little speech.
But I will say this, is I've always believed that what goes around comes around. And the spirit of generosity and kindness is something nowadays that is in a bit short supply. All I can say is that I hope that it does come around and that all of you at some time can experience what I'm feeling now. I'm absolutely overwhelmed.
And finally, the theme for ConFuzzled 2024 was revealed. Brock would be coming along, but it would be Dylan who would take centre stage as he takes us on an undersea adventure. ConFuzzled 2024 will be Dylan's Oceanic Odyssey. Prepare to get wet. Oh, how I ummed. Oh, how I erred. I always said that ConFuzzled 2015 was my best convention experience, but as I compare 2023 to 2015, I find myself looking back on 2023 more favourably. There were some things that happened that did dampen my spirits, but there were other moments that more than made up for it, and screw it! My final grade for ConFuzzled 2023 is an A star. I came away from this con with so many good memories, and you know what? I just might have to delete that video of ConFuzzled 2015. The positives. Free slushy. The fursuit menagerie was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. The Motorfurs touching tribute to Typhon. Being asked up on stage to play a minigame for Shadow Raccoon's Price is Right. Definitely an up. The return of the Paw Pets, as I said, not their best show, but it is always nice to see them at ConFuzzled. Yeah, and the only other positive I can really think of is the selection of monster they had in the Londis in the NEC. Negatives I have, well, the only negative I can really think of is the locals, but that was something that happened outside of the convention's control, and I can't really hold anything against them for that. If anything else, I'm reminded of the lyrics from a song by the punk band NoFX. It's not that they don't like us, they're just a little jealous, because we're having more fun. Another thing I want to comment on is attendees that would come up to me and just sort of like hold these conversations with me. One attendee came up to me and we talked about the Redwall books. Another furry who was into ice hockey came up to me and he asked for my thoughts on the Kyle Dubas situation. And hell, I met a fan of this web series. The only big thing I can see myself doing differently is properly time and schedule which times I can be out of suit and which times I can be in suit. I have noticed that this year there aren't that many pictures of me out and about in fursuit. So I'm thinking I could spend from this time to this time taking photos, and I could spend this time to this time in fursuit. But the thing is, that staying at the Premier Inn does make this difficult. I think this would be a lot more feasible if I could secure a room at the Hilton itself. So, claws crossed for next year. Before signing off this video, I just want to say a big, huge thank you to the convention directors, the convention crew, and the convention welfare team for help organising the convention. Big thanks go out to the staff of the Birmingham Metropole Hilton for hosting our menagerie. A great big thank you goes out to the security teams. Of the security team at the convention, at the Hilton, and also Midlands Police for making sure that we were all safe and sound on Monday night. And finally, I just want to give a big shout out to all you wonderful furry fuzzbutts for whom there are too many to mention.
Come on now, don't let the night be over. Come on now, don't let the night be over. Come on now, don't let the night be over. Oh, come on now, don't let the night be over. After we leave, I hope that I'll see you next year. Oh, after we leave, I hope that I'll see you next year. Yeah, yeah. After we leave, I hope that I'll see you next year.
And that wraps up another episode of Furry Fandom Stories. If you were at ConFuzzled 2023, was it your best con? What were your favourite memories? And if not, why not? Leave your comments in the doodly-doo below. As always, feel free to like and share this video and smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at SandyBFox. I'm Sandy Brushtail, and I'll see you again for another Furry Fandom story. But until then, take care.
That's okay.